Hi, it's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Today I'm going to answer a question off of YouTube. So I had a viewer or subscriber ask about what tractors we use, what equipment we have here, and some of those things. So I'm going to go over that today and kind of talk about my philosophy when you're starting a farm or when you're buying equipment, what you should look for, things you should do. So that's coming up next.
I'm Jared McGinnis, and this is a story of my family and our farm. About a year ago, we purchased a small rundown farm and began working to transform it into a local, sustainable food source for our community. Please subscribe and come with us on this journey of faith, family, and healthy food. We are Strong Roots Farm.
Well, it's June here in Ohio, and I guess everywhere else in the world as well. It's June, but it's warm. Everything's going well, so we're hitting the summer here. It's been hot. I've had to get the boonie cap out from my rack and try to keep my ears and my neck from getting burnt. Got to have everything in the market garden planted, so every variety that we're going to have out this year has been planted at least once. Of course, we're doing those rotations and all the things that's going on in the market garden. Had this question about equipment though. So first off, you can see here kind of my tractor behind me. It's a 26 horsepower John Deere 1025R front wheel assist tractor. So I kind of bought the smallest kind of utility tractor that they made. And so when I was looking at a tractor, one thing I did is I kind of used a different philosophy. So you have this, what I would call the classical car philosophy, where you buy a piece of equipment and you try to keep it nice and you keep it in the barn and you only use it for what it's used for. You try not to use it a lot or overuse it. That's one way of looking at equipment, trying to keep it nice by keeping it in the barn and not using it except for what it's meant for, and having an individual tractor for one specific thing, and you maintain it. I go the opposite. So I went with a tractor that I could have multiple uses for. So when we moved here to the farm, I have a mower that was made in '91, and I knew I needed a new mower. So I wanted a utility tractor that I could mow with. So it has a 60-inch drive over deck. I did not pay the extra money to get the quick attach on this. I'm young enough I can still reach under there and hook the PTO up. But so I saved some money there, but I wanted a tractor that I can mow with. So this was a good option for me. If I went larger, the larger I went, the harder it became to mow with. So I tried to look at that. Second thing was I had to have a bucket. And so I think a bucket is one of the most useful tools that you can have on a piece of equipment on a farm. So, you know, lifting, and you'd be amazed at how much I use my bucket. It does come off pretty easily. I just take the bucket attachment off when I mow, but I don't take the arms off. The arms and everything will completely come off, and you can drive out from underneath this model. We'll take a look at that here in a second, but I don't take it off because I use it so much that the bucket is a very useful tool. The third implement I got was this little backhoe, this mini backhoe here. It was pretty expensive, but I knew that when we bought this farm, I was going to have a lot of trenching. So the watershed was really bad here. I needed to trench in all the gutter lines. I knew we were going to add on. I knew we were going to do some excavating of things. So it's been very useful. Also, my father-in-law is in home construction, and he builds homes, and I thought there could be some side work there for me, which there still has been a little bit, but there could be more there, trenching in lines for him and things like that. It's a very useful implement to have on the back of a tractor, but you got to kind of think about most of those things. For instance, a trencher that you walk behind to put in like water lines, it's not a useful tool to buy on the farm. They're so cheap to rent that it's so much more cost effective just to rent those things. Something like this, depending on how much you're going to need a backhoe, would justify that. So definitely I do not recommend buying a huge backhoe specific backhoe that just does backhoeing, just does excavating like that, unless you're into excavating and you're in that business. But for this, the small work that we do here, the backhoe was a nice attachment to have on my piece of equipment. Let's look at it. So here we have the 1025R. I've been moving manure today, so it's kind of muddy, and I did some moving for my compost and turned the compost and moved some new manure in. So I try to keep it pretty clean. I've had it a year now. I have 236 hours on it, 238, something like that. And I use this for about everything. There was a while there when I was putting 3 or 4 hours a day on this thing. it's a good piece of equipment. So brand, John Deere is what I buy. Why? Because I have a relationship with my local dealer. That's it. I'm not a die-hard John Deere only, green only guy. I like the products. They're obviously a great company. They're a very large company. They have a lot to offer. I looked at the Kubota, the orange as well, and the BX models. I think they're a very good comparable tractor. I do like their products. This had a little more lifting power off the bucket, so I like that as well. And when it come down to price and the local dealership, that's why I went with this. So I don't care about color as much as I do quality. So you know, Case and International, you know, those kind of things, and Ford, and you know, whatever your local dealer is that you like, New Holland, whatever it would be now, whatever color you like. I'm not going to sit back and argue with that. You know, that's like Chevy and Ford arguing those back and forth. But so some things you should think about maybe would be, it has to be a quality company. So find a quality company with years of service. So serviceability, the local dealership, your relationship with them. Those are all important things when buying a piece of equipment, to me at least. So I like that I can go up to my local dealer here in Georgetown, Ohio. I know the guys in there, and they call me by name when I walk in, and I can get my parts that I need right away. So there's only been a few times that they didn't necessarily have the weird piece of part or whatever for an old antique tractor I had or something that they would order. But other than that, they always have everything. They've been good to me, and so I enjoy supporting them, but I did get a good deal on this tractor. So I don't want to bore you too much about tractors and what piece of equipment you should buy, but I will give you a little bit of philosophy on financing. So one thing that, you know, Christianity-wise, you are a slave to the lender, okay? So there are some financial advisors that will tell you this, and there are some that say you have to go in debt to make money. If you want to make money, you got to spend money. I don't necessarily agree with that. I am a debt-free guy. I like to stay debt-free. Do I have debt? Yes. I have a mortgage. We bought this farm. I have probably a third of the value of this place in equity, though. So if anytime I could liquidate this, unless we went through a huge market crash, I could walk away from this place and get my money back. But this tractor, let's talk about that. I financed this tractor. I had the cash to pay for this tractor up front, but John Deere got me with their 0% interest. So, and they didn't sucker me. I chose to not spend my cash. So investment-wise, I took that money and I chose to invest that in some in my 401k, and I took some of the other money and put it in savings, and I took some of the rest of that money that I had saved for this tractor, and I bought cattle with it. So the cattle is a risky investment. They can die. The market could crash. They could come here and tell me, you know, that they don't like my products and nobody could buy my cattle. And so it is a risky, but it is a rewarding investment as well for me, and it helps get my business going. 401ks, if you can't make under 12% or over 12%, if you're making under 12% on your 401k, you're doing something wrong. So I've been investing for about 8 years now. 15% on a year is the least amount interest I've ever lost. So, or that's the lowest amount I've made. So you got to think about that. I would not finance a piece of equipment, but I did because it was 0 interest, and I pay attention to my money. But living debt-free on a farm especially really takes a lot of stress off. So the farm can be stressful. It's a lot of hard work. But living debt-free is a huge advantage when it comes to buying farm stuff. Auctions are good, finding used equipment and dealing with it for a while until you get going, all that kind of stuff. I bought this tractor brand new. It's my first tractor I've ever bought brand new. I have another piece of equipment that my parents and I share that it's not new, that I can use and work on. I have some other pieces of equipment that are old and used, and I have to repair them every time I get on them. But there's just an advantage to living debt-free. So that's my main point here. As you're starting a small farm, please do not try to go out and finance a bunch of stuff, get yourself in over your head, causing stress. It will eat at you, and you are a slave. You know, I don't want to, you know, offend anybody with that word, but you are a slave to the bank. You are a slave to the lender if you are in debt. And it's painful. It causes divorce. It causes struggles. And so I would recommend, if I can, preach to you for a second, that would be what I would say, is stay out of debt when you're financing equipment, or when you're trying to purchase equipment, or whatever you're trying to do. If you have good investments and you have a good portfolio going, and you're into that, and you know what to do with your money, a 0% interest option like I did may not be a bad idea, but just pay attention to that and make sure you understand your money and your profitability. So I hope this video helps. One reason that I've gone to this market gardening system and to a small mobile system like Salatin does is the financing. Okay, so the profit the capital investment into this business can be lower, and you can start with $1,000. You can start with $5,000. If you have $10,000, you ought to be up and running very big the first year. Okay, so $10,000, you should be able to pump out an acre of vegetables. You should be able to, buy yourself 10 cows or calves and feed out if you have the land. You should be able to start with that. $10,000 is a lot of money. So the market garden style farming, you can start with small tools though, hand tools. Go to an auction, and hopefully you're not bidding against the Amish, because they like their hand tools too. They know what they're doing. But you should be able to buy hand tools for about $5. So buy you some hand tools, maybe spend a couple $100s on a tilther, get your market garden going, and then later think about a tractor. The tractor should not be your first purchase on the farm. Okay, so I've been around this a little while, and I knew what I was doing to an extent as I studied stuff out. But please do not buy a farm and the next day go see a dealership about buying a big tractor. Know what you're doing, and borrow, rent, all those kind of things until you kind of get some cash flow going, because the debt or the heartache of having all your money tied up into one piece of equipment will hurt you as you start to farm on the way I'm farming, the small scale. Appreciate you guys watching. I've got a special video coming up. So we just passed Memorial Day weekend here, and I've got a friend from the service that is out in Washington, and he's buying some beef. So our philosophy originally was we were not going to ship beef anywhere. We were not going to ship vegetables anywhere. But sometimes there's special circumstances, and this is the only time I'm going to do this, unless something crazy like this comes up again. But Ben, he's out there and he's making these knives. So every now and then, military guys will go off and do great things, and it's great when you have this brotherhood that we grew up in, and that we grew in as we were fighting. And so I've got this brother, and he wants to do this little bit of farming. He's out there in Washington. He's hand forging knives. And so I'm going to make a video of this when I get this knife. He's been sending me pictures. I'm going to send him meat for it. He's interested in what we're doing. So we're supporting each other. And, as Memorial Day just passed and we remember our fallen brothers, it's heartache for us. War is not always a joy, even though there were times that I enjoyed myself. But there are relationships there that you build in the service that are like none other. So, I love this guy, and I love what he's doing, and I want to support him and his forging, and I think he's got a great thing going there. And but as we remember our fallen soldiers this past week, I really want to say that anybody that's struggling out there right now as a serviceman, that needs to do something, if you want to change the way you're living, if you want to talk about something, if you're struggling with something, please come to the farm. Please call us up. And the suicide rate among soldiers is high, way higher than it should be. And it's amazing that we go and we fight, and we see what my unit saw, and we make it through all that, and then we come back to troubles and struggles, and that's heartache. So I really want to say, anybody that can come out to the farm to see what we're doing and see how relaxing this can be, even though it's hard work, and how we can support each other. So if there's any veteran brothers out there in our area, please come and visit the farm. Please come and see what we're doing, and enjoy it with us. Take some lettuce home with you, and if you have struggles, though, please talk to somebody, as we're reminded this past week, and please remember our fallen brothers. Thanks for watching.
As always, thanks for watching. Tell your mama and them. Subscribe and comment to continue with us on this journey. And don't forget to check out Noah Smith at noahsmithmusic.com.